Not only is this DC fridge half of the price as other similar sized DC fridges, but also has a special bonus item that allows me to take this anywhere I want, even without my truck. The PT45 from Set Power is a dual zone DC fridge that I feel is the perfect size for a family who wants to travel or for camping, bugging out, and those types of scenarios. Now, I'm married with 3 kids, and so when we travel, eating out can be quite expensive, and having a DC fridge helps keep our costs down while traveling drastically. But I hate having a cooler with a bunch of melted ice in it that's getting everything wet, which is why I like DC fridges so much more. Now, I don't always have my truck in order to have my DC fridge running, and so I need to have portable power with my PT45. I really want to keep the food and the drinks cold, and that's why when Set Power reached out, they asked which one I would feel would be the perfect fit, and that's why I chose the PT45, which is a 48-quart dual zone fridge for my personal use with my family and for travel. Now, one of the main reasons why I like it is because it has 2 separate zones, and with those zones, I thought originally that the bigger capacity zone was just for refrigeration and the smaller was just for freezing, but I actually had that all wrong. I can do cooling in both, just normal refrigeration. I can do freezing in both. I can do refrigeration or cooling in the small or refrigeration or cooling in the large. I can do any combination that I want. Now, I've purchased different DC fridges in the past, such as the JP40 from Iceco, which I do think is a good DC fridge, but there were some major drawbacks to that now having the PT45 that I wasn't aware of until I got the PT45. I definitely feel like I was getting gypped in certain ways, particularly in the price. The PT45 is about $200 less than what I paid for that other DC fridge. So there's a massive savings to have by going with the Set Power DC fridge instead of something like an Iceco. Now, that being said, I've also used the Glacier from EcoFlow, and that's a $1,200 on sale. And so that's like 3 or 4 times the cost of this fridge right here. Now, the second thing that I really like about the PT45 is the weight. I don't know the exact weight differences between my JP40 that I had and this new PT45 that's mine, but this one is definitely lighter, and that's very surprising considering that this is much bigger. It's almost 20% bigger in terms of holding capacity, and it separates the zones better in my opinion, and you actually get to use more space inside of this. I was definitely surprised to find out how light this was. It's easy to move around. I've got a bunch of stuff that I'll show you here in a second, and it's still easy for me to move. The other DC fridges that I've used had pretty small compartments in them, and with these I was surprised how deep they are. I could fit so much here in either compartment. I have a huge venison roast here, and then I've got some more frozen meat in here. I honestly don't know what this is. We got venison, and then of course I've got some drinks in here. Now, there is a guide in here as well to give you some clues as to what you should store certain types of food and drinks at. And it also gives you some error information in case you're having issues with the unit. It is lit on both zones very well. And I was very impressed with how much space there was here for the price because this was a lot cheaper than the other options on the market, and it definitely seems like it has more space. It also runs nearly silent. I'll take my mic right now. I'm going to put it right next to the fan here. And I'm just a couple feet away from it, and it's hardly noticeable. The other DC fridges that I've used have a similar level of fan noise, but they also have like a compressor noise. It's very subtle, but kind of like a buzzing noise that's constantly going when those were cooling. This, I have not heard that buzzing noise, so it's pretty much just the fan. It is a very quiet system. I've been using it in my office here for weeks now to keep food and drinks cold, and the noise level has not bothered me at all having it right next to me at my desk. And in case you're wondering, Liquid Death is just carbonated, delicious water. It's got like 2 grams of sugar in it, so I love drinking these. It's not alcoholic in any way, and they have some teas that are also very delicious. Not sponsored in any way with the Liquid Death stuff, just wonderful drinks that I like to have. Now, the other thing that's really special to the Set Power is they have their own battery pack. This is a 216 watt hour battery pack that has a cigarette lighter port built into it, specifically made for running DC fridges. Now, it also has a USB-A and a USB-C charging port, so you could charge your phone on it. And right now we're at 93%, and this has been running it for about an hour. So depending on the environment that this is in, this battery is able to run this DC fridge anywhere from like 8 to 10 hours, and that's largely due to how full this is. So I've got the Liquid Deaths in here, which is basically just water, and water holds a lot of cold into it. It's really good for holding the coldness. And then I've got the frozen meat on this side, which also is a lot of water in it, so it helps keep the fridge colder. So if you have a bunch of things that were warm from a grocery store on a shelf and then you put them in here, that's naturally going to raise the level of the temperature inside, and it's not going to run as long because it's going to have to run harder. One of the things I like the most about this battery pack is this huge rubber pad that's on the bottom. Makes it extremely grippy, and as I've used this in my own vehicle, it doesn't slip around and get in the way. The simplest thing is when I have this in my car is I just put this battery pack right on the top of it, and it doesn't seem to slip around. The other thing why I like this battery pack so much is the depth of this socket. And I know that sounds weird, but I've used even like Jackery systems and other solar generators to run my DC fridges. And what tends to happen with these cigarette lighter plugs is that they work their way out of this DC port. And so they wiggle as the car vibrates. And then without you knowing, you're not running your fridge. So you go to open it and it's not as cold as you'd want it to be. I've not had that issue with this one. It actually pushes in really far, and then it has a very tight, snug fit. You can see I can hold this whole battery pack just by this socket right here. I think that's one of the coolest things is that this combined, this huge DC fridge, the car charger, wall charger, and this power brick is less than the cost of my other DC fridge that I purchased by about 20%, and this has about 20% more capacity to it. Now, sure, there are some other features that other DC fridges may have, such as the EcoFlow Glacier has an ice maker in it, and it has a built-in battery pack. That ends up being about $1,200. I normally don't need ice when I'm out camping or traveling with this because the food's already cold or the drinks are already cold. I don't need the ice to make the drinks cold. Now, it would be nice if there was an internal battery pack and even a solar charging port, because that would be the ultimate setup. But for this being such a low price, I can absolutely forego all of those features just by having this battery pack, and that's perfectly fine with me. Now, originally I thought I'd be able to get this for the best price from Set Power's website, but you can see here that this combination actually costs about $100 more than if I were to buy it on Amazon. Because now here on Amazon, I can see that I can get the DC fridge for this much, add the battery for about $99, and that ends up saving me about $100 off of the total price compared to buying it directly from the manufacturer. So you might as well take advantage of that and buy it directly on Amazon. I'll put the links down below to this exact setup that I have here, so that way you can get the savings. And I do think it would be great if they had wheels for this, because you can overload it. Obviously, if you put a lot of things into it, it's going to get heavier, and having a telescoping handle with wheels would have been really nice. They also do have an optional thermal case. It's like a insulated sleeve that this goes in, as well as a sliding rack. So if you're going to be in a van life van or in a overlanding truck or vehicle, then you can put this on its own rack to where it slides out and it's a lot easier to access. Now, the reason I preferred the PT45 over the PT58 is that this 48 quarts of capacity is plenty in my experience. I've used this for a while, experimenting with different things inside of it, all the way from condiments and lunch things like sandwich bread and meats and cheeses, all the way to frozen venison and elk and these drinks. And I feel like it's plenty. I'm not trying to live out of this for an extended period of time, although that would be an option. If this was going to be set in one location and I wasn't hauling it around, then I'd probably go for the PT58, which is bigger. But because I'm not doing that, I'm using this for short periods of time, then I think the PT45 is a better size. Realistically, anyone could get a small generator to go with this, and you could use it to power this up. But like I said, the socket is definitely a problem that I've had in other small solar generators. And sometimes I travel for solar installations. Many people find out about solar kits through my website, poweredportablesolar.com, and then they need help installing it or getting complete kits. So go there if you need that kind of help. But when we go and do installations for people, we oftentimes travel. And so that means we want to have cold drinks and hydration and all of that with us. It also helps a lot to have food there, so that way we don't have to waste time going to a gas station or to a fast food place to eat a bunch of junk food and then try to work the rest of the day. So putting our own food in the PT45 makes it easier. Traditionally, I've used like a Lifetime, like a Yeti knockoff type cooler with a bunch of ice in it. And yeah, it keeps the ice in it for a decent amount of time, but inevitably that ice will melt and it will be water and it's gonna get everything soggy. And regardless, I think everybody understands it's just not fun having everything soaking wet when you go to get it out of your cooler. And that's why I like a DC fridge so much more, is I don't have to keep buying ice for one and then keep it topped off with ice, but then additionally, and most importantly, everything's not soaking wet. Now, the battery pack comes with a car charger as well as a wall charger. I thought it was kind of weird that they didn't just make this a USB in and out, because you can get up to 100 watts of USB-C charging, so I'm surprised they didn't go for that. This is only 15 watts of output from the USB-C port. But either way, I can put this on a charger while driving, put this into its own socket while driving, And then when I get to my site, everything's ready to go to keep running off of this. Now, in general, DC fridges are a great way to keep food cool while you're in an emergency, whether it's blackouts and you're just trying to keep specific things cold. That could be insulin or breast milk or anything that you need to keep cold that's vital for someone's health and well-being. This is a perfect setup because it'll run for so long off of such little amount of power. And in addition, for camping, traveling, hunting, whatever it is, this is just a convenient way to keep things cold, and I much prefer that over a typical cooler. So far, out of all the DC fridges that I've used, the PT45 is definitely one of my top choices. It's lightweight, it's easy. One of the things I forgot to mention is I was actually concerned about how lightweight it was, and so I opened it up and popped out this cap and found that they did use high density closed cell foam, which is the best you can use for insulation. If you wanted to be extra safe, I'd get the sleeve that goes around this as well if you're in a hot climate. So those are the goods and the bads of the PT45. Set Power did send this out to me, but that doesn't change my review in any way, shape, or form. That's how it is, that's how it's performed for me, and I've had no issues at all. And so if this is something that you'd like to get, I'll have links down below this video so that way you can get the best pricing that I've been able to find, and you can use it in any way that you prefer. Thanks guys, be prepared. See you on the next video.